Subscribe to Iron Age Instincts right now, because what you're about to hear isn't recycled trivia or nostalgia fluff. This is hard-earned, real-world knowledge forged under rationing, bombing and total war. If you care about history as lived experience, not museum glass, this episode is for you. World War II civilians didn't just survive on less. They often discovered substitutes that were more stable, more resilient, and in some cases healthier than what we rely on today. Stay with me for the full breakdown, because several of these swaps still outperform modern ingredients when supply chains collapse. The reality of wartime food shortages forced innovation, not imitation. People weren't trying to recreate luxury meals, they were trying to stay alive, fueled and functional. That pressure stripped food down to its core purpose. Calories, preservation, digestibility and reliability mattered more than taste trends. That's why many World War II food swaps deserve serious attention today. The first and most important swap was barley and oats, replacing refined wheat flour. Wheat shortages pushed entire populations toward barley bread, oat cakes and mixed-grain loaves. Unlike modern refined flour, these grains retained fibre, minerals and slow-burning carbohydrates. In practice, this meant longer-lasting energy and fewer digestive issues. British and Scandinavian civilians noticed they could work longer hours without hunger crashes. Today, you can apply this by baking with barley flour blended into your dough or cooking oat-based flatbreads that store longer and spoil slower than white bread. In survival terms, these grains resist pests better and require less processing. Animal fats quietly outperformed modern seed oils during the war. Butter, lard, tallow and dripping replaced imported vegetable oils that simply disappeared. These fats were shelf-stable, calorically dense and heat-resistant. Civilians rendered fat from scraps, stored it in crocks and reused it without refrigeration. Modern seed oils oxidize quickly and rely on industrial refinement. World War II households proved that animal fats support endurance, preserve better, and can be produced locally. Practically, learning to render and store tallow gives you a cooking fat that lasts months without electricity. Dried legumes actually replaced meat more effectively than, any of our modern protein substitutes. Meat rationing back then pushed people toward lentils, peas and beans, not just as side dishes, but as their main sources of protein. Unlike today's protein powders, legumes provided fibre, minerals and, a feeling of fullness that lasted. Households would soak and slow cook them to get the most nutrition possible. Applying this today is really quite simple. Just store dried legumes, learn the proper soaking methods and combine them with grains to create complete proteins, all without needing refrigeration. Root vegetables, rather than imported fruits or modern produce logistics, became the answer. Potatoes, turnips, beets and carrots turned into dietary anchors because they stored so well in cellars and didn't depend on those fragile supply chains. During the war, families actually survived entire winters on roots alone. When you compare them to modern produce that spoils in just a few days, root vegetables offer resilient calories. You can still do this today by building a simple root cellar or storing vegetables in sand or sawdust, a technique that's honestly still better than those plastic refrigeration bins. Coffee substitutes, believe it or not, often proved more sustainable than coffee itself. Chicory, roasted barley and dandelion root stepped in when imports vanished. While they didn't have caffeine, these substitutes actually supported digestion and liver function, something our overstimulated modern coffee culture tends to ignore. Many civilians back then reported better sleep and, well, steadier energy. Today, you can try incorporating chicory root drinks to reduce caffeine dependency without having to give up the comfort of your daily ritual. Homemade bread starters replaced commercial yeast with greater reliability. Yeast shortages forced households to rely on sourdough cultures passed between neighbours. These starters were more resilient, forgiving, and adaptable to poor quality flour. Unlike commercial yeast, sourdough tolerates temperature fluctuations and enhances mineral absorption. Learning sourdough is not nostalgia, it's food security. Milk shortages pushed fermented dairy ahead of modern pasteurized reliance. Yogurt, kefir and clabbered milk replaced fresh milk because they lasted longer and improved digestion. Fermentation reduced spoilage risk without refrigeration. Modern ultra-pasteurized milk trades longevity for nutrition. WWII fermentation practices remain unmatched for off-grid living. Sugar scarcity revived dried fruit and honey as superior sweeteners. Instead of refined sugar, civilians relied on raisins, apples and honey. These provided minerals and fibre alongside sweetness. In survival terms, dried fruit stores longer and offers quick energy without insulin spikes. Applying this today is as simple as dehydrating seasonal fruit for long-term storage. Soup stocks replaced processed flavourings and bouillon cubes. Bones, vegetable scraps and herbs became daily broth bases. These stocks delivered minerals and calories modern flavour packets lack. Families stretch meals while improving nutrition. Learning to make and store broth concentrate is still one of the most efficient ways to feed groups cheaply. Finally, ration-era portion discipline replaced modern excess with efficiency. WWII households learned exact portioning to eliminate waste. Smaller, nutrient-dense meals outperformed today's calorie-heavy diets. This discipline translated directly into better endurance during long work days. Practicing controlled portions paired with dense foods remains a survival advantage. These WWII food swaps weren't desperation measures. They were optimized systems built under pressure. They favored durability, nutrition, and independence over convenience. That's why they still matter. If this kind of grounded, no-nonsense history matters to you, subscribe to Iron Age Instincts. Share this episode with someone who cares about real survival knowledge, and keep these lessons alive while the modern world forgets them.